It feels like quite a long time since the 2025 Rugby World Cup, and yet it is only this weekend that the women's professional domestic season, in the UK at least, is coming to a close with the final of the PWR. And I'll be honest, right? This is the most excited I've been about the PWR final in a few years.
Yeah, definitely. I think since the first time Gloucester-Hartpury won it, I think it's good for the league.
The King's Home as well.
Yes.
The King's Home, as we call it now, the shed. Yeah, Queen's Home.
Yes. I think it's really good for the league that they're going to have somebody else this time round. And very importantly, somebody who has never made a PWR final before. Ealing Trailfinders, this is only their second full year in the league, and they've already made it to a final.
Yeah.
Their story of how they've climbed has been simply phenomenal. And it's not just a case of like them. They have made some brilliant signings.
Yeah.
They've brought in Alana Borland. They've brought in Georgia Ponsonby. They've brought in Meg Jones. You may have heard of some of these guys. But above all else, like they brought in Barney Madison as director of rugby, who has done an unbelievable job and got them playing such an entertaining brand of rugby.
I think the really smart thing they've done is they've recruited a lot of players who you may have heard of if you're a big women's rugby fan, but I think the average kind of punter who watches the Red Roses and may watch the final and the odd game if it happens to be on TNT Sports or the BBC after they've watched another game, aren't necessarily familiar with. But they've like almost moneyballed this and built a really, really smart squad of players who are excellent across the park and do their job really smartly, going across the rugby world. The absolute pinnacle of this is Clara Gallagher, who I think might be the most underrated player in the women's game at the minute, possibly just in all of rugby. I thought it was extraordinary she didn't get more game time during the World Cup.
Didn't get any game time.
Yeah.
Mental.
But obviously Taylor Perry came in for that first game against Fiji and was brilliant and just kept her shirt. But you look at the way that Gallagher was able to play against Ireland in the warm-ups, the way she's performed over the last few seasons in the, I was going to call it the Tri-Nations. It's not the Tri-Nations at all.
The Pac
4, which is one nation more than they had in the Tri-Nations, the Quad Nations, if you will. The way she's performed like a few Pac 4s in a row. And then Ealing have probably managed to get her for quite a discount rate. They've been able to cover her flights as well, I think, as part of their sponsorship deal, to get her in from Canada. And what we've seen is someone who was, all season has been great. Every time I've watched Ealing, it's been like she has been the standout, above even Meg Jones as the big star name coming in. But that semi-final in particular, I thought she was extraordinary. It's as good a fly-half performance as I've seen all year.
There's absolutely no doubt that she was the player of the match in that game. And she's going to be enormous. I think she's the key player for Ealing Trailfinders in this final. She sets up the try for Meg Jones, which is masterfully put together, where, you know, they managed to break down the defence. She waits until the perfect moment where the backfield is kind of not quite there. Dabs it in behind. Meg Jones scored the try in the end, but also the try that she sets up for Isla Norman-Bell, where she's in a bit of a kicking battle with Flaky George and Nell Metcalf of Gloucester-Hartpury. Flaky George bangs it in behind and she covers it superbly.
This is one of these things, right, that Nell Metcalf here at fullback can't get there into position. This is not her fault from a she can't get there point of view, but it is also her fault, and she's a young player. She's still kind of learning the position. She's played most of rugby for Wales on the wing.
And for Gloucester.
For Gloucester-Hartpury previous to the last month whilst Emma Singh's been injured, and is very much kind of learning this role. She needs to be bollocking Mia Venner here, because Mia Venner is still waiting in the main defensive line. She needs to be getting back here because Flaky George has chased the previous kick, and it opens such a gap. And Claire Gallagher spots it. And the usual thing is you would want to hit it as long as you can, but she deliberately hits it into like a space where she can get to, knowing that Metcalf is miles off, and probably looking up and seeing both Venner and Flaky George chasing it down. Yeah,
and throughout the game, she was just pumping the ball down into Gloucester-Hartpury's territory. It's so rare that you see Gloucester-Hartpury getting bullied in kicking battles like this, because Flaky George has a massive boot. Mo Hunt and Emma Singh both have massive boots, but those two weren't playing, you know? And this is huge, because also you have moments like the Emma Uren try, where she goes for the crossfield kick. And this is the thing about Meg Jones, because Meg Jones, anybody who watches her play knows she likes to be the main character in everything she does.
See her celebrating someone else's try with her trademark celebration for when she scores tries in that same game.
Exactly. But she likes to be the main character. However, having somebody like a Gallagher who she can play off. This is great because she just goes, right, I'm just going to sit really wide and see if something, like, it's such a low percentage play. Like, not many fly-offs in the world can execute this kick perfectly, you know, not many in the PWR, certainly. And she does. Meg Jones has so much time on the board that she can do that little switch with Euroen. You find moments in the game where, like, Meg Jones is willing to slot into the backfield or go into the wing and so on. I think that's something that's really important about her with, and again, it tells you so much about Trailfinders, doesn't it? That she's not trying to kind of hog the limelight, that she's willing to kind of step aside and have those moments. And the thing as well with Clara Gallagher, obviously this season, the two big injuries from Trailfinders' point of view are Rachel Malcolm and Julia Schell. The pair of them have both been out injured. Schell is such an, like another one of those most underrated players in the world, who obviously she's rapid and makes line breaks for fun and scores endless numbers of tries, but her kicking game is brilliant as well. And there's a part of me that wonders if that's something they're going to miss without her there. So instead, they've had Neve Gallagher playing in at fullback instead. Irish, who's won her first few caps over the Six Nations. A very, very good player. But something that I scratch my head around. So she kicks the goals for Ealing. And in the semi-final, she didn't have a particularly great day with the boot. Her first kick, not far off being between the posts, sliding away. So... yeah.
That's the thing about Clara Gallagher, right? Is she's not a brilliant goal kicker. And so you do have to find other options within your team, whether it's Meg Jones, whether it's the other Gallagher. You know, Claire made the joke in commentary on the game, on the semi-final. You know, there's perhaps another more famous pair of Gallaghers out there, by which I mean Matt and his dad, John Gallagher, who played for the All Blacks in the 87 World Cup.
Also incredibly funny, and look, I'm just going to make this joke again. I made it at the time. Neve Gallagher getting timed out on a a kick. I'm out of time.
No, nice. Okay, so but I think you've got to compensate around that. But it's worth it because the thing is, right, Clara Gallagher's kicking game is kind of extraordinary. And we talked about that one from the kicking battle. We talked about the little grubber through. But also, if you look at that semi-final, right, she was... just as there's a few times where we saw, just as the defence was setting to her kicking long, she was putting little chips over the top, and that was getting them up into the 22, or she was sliding in these attacking grubbers. And this becomes particularly interesting when you think about the fact they're playing Saracens. And we've talked less about Saracens, I think, because they've made a number of PWR finals, they've won a number of PWRs back in the day, back when it wasn't called the PWR. But they have, at fullback right now, Jess Breach. Right? And Jess Breach is one of the most dangerous attacking players in the world, as seen by her scoring a brilliant solo try in the second semi-final in a row to put Saracens into the final.
It's mad. You can be in a really cagey game, whereas Exeter were, and they really had Sarries on the ropes, but all it takes is one slight miskick, which is huge from the Gallagher perspective.
And same with France and the end of the Six Nations, right? Like, Jess Breach has 2 breakaway chances and scores 2 tries, and that turns the game entirely.
One like half tackle on her as opposed to melting her and finishing off means she will go the length and score.
And her at fullback is really working. I think she's really developed a kind of passing game. Like, her little touch in the lead up to Corrigan's try in the first half is beautiful. Her just kind of taking it, giving it, knowing the danger, knowing that everyone comes on her, particularly I think, because if you go back to her 2 or 3 years ago, she did not have this in a game. So you go, Jess Breach is coming at first receiver, she's going to selfishly go herself, because that's what she was doing, and she's developed that and learned her reputation. It's the thing that all great players do when they hit the kind of second, third wave of their careers.
Yeah, it's very smart the way that Zoe Harrison calls this as well, because most teams in this scenario would just go off 12 and get their 10 making the decisive pass, whereas it's something that Saracens have clearly really worked on. They've had Kevin Rouet coming in to join Alex Osterbury.
It's very Kevin Rouet. I think that kind of sits out there.
Having everybody willing, like, confident and capable of throwing these passes. So it's not just Jess Breach who comes out the back here, but also Lottie Sharp. And the two of them are dead straight. And just for one step, they straighten up and then lift that ball off their chests. And it's just, they move that along the line and Alicia Corrigan scores. As mentioned, it's very Rouet coded.
Yeah, we'll get back on to Jess Breach, but I do want to talk about Rouet because I think he's just come up, right? So he's been in with Saracens for the full season, part of a kind of exchange program where Osterbury came in to help with Canada, and then he's come in to help with Saracens for a season. Did you see there was a really interesting interview of him, I think the BBC, about his time with Saracens, where he said initially everyone involved with the RFU and so on was very cagey. They stopped sending loosened data out to every DOR and every coaching team, and they stopped sending it out to Sarries because he was there, and he just went to the RFU. He went to the RFU and said, "Don't worry, I've already got all of this data. I already have all of this logged in myself."
The guy is such a visionary. Like, I get why they wouldn't send it because he's such a threat.
And he went, like, literally, I have more information information on your players than you would send out and have on your own players. Like, we tracked all of this ourselves.
There is one man in the world who has the destruct codes for the Red Roses. Who is working on that, and that is Kevin Rowe.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I'm so excited for those free tests later this year. But that's a whole other thing. But I think like his time with Saracens has seen them develop a little bit, and they have a really outstanding pack. But in past years, we have seen that pack used to destroy. In the kind of like wolf pack template that the men's team set a decade plus ago now, the women's team kind of carried over a lot of that template, and it was work rate, but it was power.
Yeah.
And
likes of Marley Packer, Georgia Evans, players like that, Poppy Cleal.
Gallagher, like the whole kind of pack that they've had there, the both Cleals. What we've seen this year, I think, is they've become a little bit more dynamic, and kind of their average ball speed, I can't remember the exact figures, but it's dropped drastically over the course of one season. And we've seen them kind of liven up their whole game, and it used to be a little bit like sort of, you read about Wales in the 70s, right? And the approach was, there was a quote from Andy Irvine, I think, who said that the reason that Wales won so much in the 70s was, everyone says it's like Gareth and JPR and JJ Williams and Phil Bennett and so on. But the real reason was their pack just beat everyone up, so those guys got loads of space. And I think Saracens have kind of had a little bit of that to their DNA, and it feels like now a little bit less like they're beating them up so that Jess Breach has space, and Lottie Sharp and, whoever else, the Harrisons of the world. But instead, like, everyone is now doing the playing. And that does leave sometimes the backs have got to do a little bit of beating up and a little bit like carrying on soft shoulders and coming in and learning to pass and distribute more and evening out their game, because there'll be slightly less space on the field, but they're trying to use it better.
A large part of that comes down to the very large Canadian contingent who come over along with Rouet and Osterbury. So you've got Alicia Corrigan and the PWR Player of the Year, Olivia Apps, who came over on a short-term deal, and she has been like unequivocally the best player in the league. She's been incredible. But in the pack as well, you're looking at Gabrielle Senft, you're looking at Julia Omakwale, you're looking at Letitia Royer, and the GOAT, Sophie de Goody, playing at number 8. And if there is anybody who is more born to just change a cup final in one moment, as we were mentioning about Jess Breach a minute ago, you've got that in the pack as well. You've got somebody who can make, even if it's not just one carry, she's playing at number 8, obviously she usually plays at second row for Canada, but she's playing at number 8 for Saracens. And it's not even just her carrying game, it is her distribution. And we've done enough talking up why Sophie de Goody is
we've spent
probably
so much time talking about Sophie
the greatest player
and
the women's
we'll do it
game
again.
Scene.
And I don't regret it. We'll do it plenty more, and possibly, likely, after this final. But I do want to go back to Jess Breach. Right?
Please.
So we can talk up Jess Breach as much as we like. However, there has always been one area with her game that has not been so strong, and she's worked on the passing, and she has worked on her core tackling. Right, like that was always a bit of a criticism of her, was her like actual tackle technique wasn't that great, and that has come on an awful lot. And I think her defensive positioning has come on a lot with the wing, with England, with the likes of John Mitchell coming in and being a defence coach by trade.
Along with Sarah Hunter.
That. However, from fullback, I've seen a number of times this PWR season, we have seen Jess Breach caught out a little bit positionally. And I don't think it's so much in the backfield. Her covering work is very good. But there's this kind of role that like all fullbacks kind of run this. Most systems now run this, where if the ball comes wide, the fullback comes up into the line, and you have kind of like the extra pendulum with a fly half or drop back as well and play fullback. And so Saracens run the system. And we've seen a number of times, it's best seen in Maloney McDonald's try from the semi-final, how hard Jess Breach comes up for no reason. There are two players here. Her job here, right, is to shoot him initially, then drift off and wait and cover both options. Instead, she comes up so hard that the pass is pretty simple. There's a lovely touch by Alex Tessier in the middle, but it just allows Granzotto all the time in the world to wait and just see which option Breach takes and then throw the long pass over the top. And if Breach just sits off here, right, then Granzotto is forced to just chance her arm and take a guess, and Breach can adjust on. Instead, Breach oversells herself.
The reason why she does this is because England's system is very similar to like the Springbok men, if you've heard of them. Their system of they like their wingers just really high in the line. They like their wingers to be like the focal point of the defence, to kind of just like really scream at the 10 and get in their eye line.
You want to be in the eye line, You want to be like throw off passes, throw off the catch.
just force them to have a moment of indecision. Now, what Exeter do very cleverly here, as you mentioned, they bring round Granzotto, the winger, who is someone who's as fast as Jess Breach, who can then penetrate that gap. So it means that when Jess Breach is going that way, Granzotto's going that way. And it turns what is, in theory, like a smart bit of defence by Breach into a dogleg. And so she can get it round, she can get it to Maloney McDonald, and she can finish that try from there.
However, the thing I think is interesting is Breach's habit of overselling herself on opportunities like this, right? And that means that if you are Ealing and you love an attacking kick, that opens up so many possibilities for little grubbers, sliding kicks in behind, whether it's like from your own half, banging it long, looking for 50-22s. This is something you can really exploit. And if I'm involved with Ealing, if I am whispering in Clara Gallagher's ear, I'm going, keep your eye on Breach.
Yeah.
Keep your eye on Breach, because she will go for hero shots, and she will go to cut things off, and she will go to get up in the island. As I said, the system she runs with England. And you can exploit her. When she's playing fullback, there is less cover there.
The way that I would exploit that in the first place, so Ealing have one incredibly powerful winger in Caris Cox, who is not as lightning as a Jess Breach.
Another one of those kind of Moneyball signings.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she is incredibly strong and often is worth sort of 5-6 metres more in a carry than you would imagine. Now, what I would do if I was Clara Gallagher, early on in the game, first 5 minutes, 2 or 3 times, send across field to Caris Cox. Because if you're Jess Breach and that ball's gone up to Caris Cox, and because Jess Breach isn't a particularly good tackler, you can't let her run at you.
Yeah.
So when that ball is in the air, as Breach, you have to just really go after that. You have to preempt it almost and really like chase after early on to try and like meet her as she's catching the ball. If you let Caris Cox have a run up, Breach is going to miss tackles on her.
You also want to make a point of moving them around, moving that backfield around. Same thing that she did really smartly for Gloucester-Hartpury and caught a back three who hadn't played the most rugby together, right? Like all of them have played plenty of rugby for Gloucester-Hartpury and the PWR. And you know, 2 of them are internationals. But there hasn't been that much time. There's been like a month, really, with Nell Metcalf as the starting fullback and Mia Venner on the wing.
Yeah.
And that led to that communication error. And you want to be making sure you pressure those systems as much as possible. Now, that's very different when you've got Lottie Sharp, who's obviously like, you know, was the starting fullback for the USA last year and is very much a fullback herself. Alicia Corrigan's played fullback for Canada, and Jess Breach obviously is playing fullback here and has played fullback for the Red Roses. That is a very different system to try and break up.
The important thing as well is Zoe Harrison, the best kicker in women's rugby by a mile, is there. So she'll go into the backfield, she'll help them out.
What you're looking for is not to catch out players being incompetent, but to create communication errors. And to create moments of Sharp going, well, this is what I'm used to doing when I play fullback for the USA, or when I play fullback for Saracens, as you know, she was obviously starting fullback a few years ago and has slid around more wing-wise, position-wise. You want to try and create moments of 2 players double-guessing themselves. Ealing a little bit, and the comparison doesn't feel that obvious, but they remind me a little bit of another team who just played a final just across the road in Green, in London, in Twickenham, in Northampton Saints. In that they kick very early on phase count, and perhaps their attack is less like wide and floaty than the Saints is, but it's the same principle of they do lots of attacking little kicks, a lot of shoving things in, a lot of trying to catch like dead spaces in the backfield in order to then open up space to attack with the passing and the wide game.
The other thing with Saracens that's so important is penalty count. Is making sure that is kept to a minimum, because we've mentioned both Gallaghers have these big boots that they can punish them, get into the territory and get some set piece from. And it's a funny one. When you look at the Saracens semi-final against Exeter, Exeter scored a few tries off mauls, off pick and goes, off just short-range attacks through their forwards. Now, I wouldn't be too concerned about that if I was Saracens, because they have a big pack themselves, and Ealing's pack isn't particularly made for power.
It's mobile, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's designed to get around
you
the
look
field.
at Alana Borland is a proper carrying threat, like Nee Bremner. You've got Emma Wassell, who is a brilliant...
Emma Wassell is everywhere on every pitch she ever plays on.
Yeah.
Like, I've never watched Emma Wassell and gone, where is she? I can't see her on screen at the moment.
However, instead of being a bully, she's a workhorse.
Yes.
Right? You've got Georgia Ponsonby, who, in fairness, is a world-class hooker.
Yeah.
Is one of the best
everything.
hookers.
She's very capable of being nasty, but also capable of playing.
Yes, absolutely. Got Kate Zachary, who, again, absolute workhorse. And now, the thing is, this pack won't tire easily. You know, because they are, as I say, such hard workers. I assume it's going to be incredibly hot at the game. So in a way, that does kind of play into Saracens' hands a little bit. Also, they've got reserves on the bench. They've had Poppy Cleal on the bench.
Does it, right? Both teams are ones who want to wear the opposition down.
Yeah.
The Saracens want it because they want them making a lot of tackles. Ealing because they want to move them physically around the park. And I think those two things could even each other out, especially playing the heat.
Yeah, there is that. Also, the other thing is that Barney Madison didn't use his bench particularly early in the semi-final. One thing I find quite interesting. So Celia Kwanzaa played about 5 minutes on the bench, partner of Meg Jones.
Yeah.
And she's been named in the Barbarian squad for this weekend.
Oh, has she?
Yeah. So
interesting.
I don't know if she just accepted that, thinking that, like, said, I'll play if Ealing don't get into it.
Because Gloucester-Hartpury are going to win.
Yeah. And then went, sorry, lads, I'm going to actually play in this final at the weekend.
Or if they've maybe named a team and she's,
I suppose they're just round the corner from each other, aren't they?
Yeah, across the road.
Yeah. But, I mean, as I say, the teams are out by the time this video is out.
Yeah.
Just an interesting observation.
Yeah. All right. So, this is an interesting final. I think there's Saracens go in as favourites.
Definitely.
But I think there's an awful lot Ealing can use to get at them. And Ealing winning this would be such a cool story.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about Kate Zachary, who is such an outstanding leader there.
They've got Kate Zachary and Rachel Malcolm both in their team. That's unfair.
And Meg Jones is currently England captain.
Yeah.
Like, that's just an overdose of leadership.
Yeah.
However, Kate Zachary is one of the most outstanding captains in rugby union.
Yeah.
Maybe in rugby union history.
It's important as well, you pointing that out. The stuff that's been said around Meg Jones and how she prepared Ealing for the semi-final is, like, really quite striking. Like, because she has been there and done it. She has played in all of the most high-pressure games. And the way that she got Ealing to just chill out before that semi-final, just like, don't worry about it. I know it's Gloucester-Hartpury. I know that they've beaten us before. But apparently, like, she's, like, so much credit goes to her. And she more so than, like, Barney Madison even himself.
It's the benefit of a leadership group,
of
a whole team. You can't rely on one captain, and they really don't have to.
Yeah.
Or for the pack. I will say, though, her pointing at the badge when she scored, right? Or when she didn't even score.
When Uren scored.
Yeah, when Uren scored. Her pointing at the badge, right? Normally, all for this. By all means, embrace the club you play for. But when that club is named after a travel agent who bought the club and renamed it as a marketing exercise, I think that's a very different matter. I think that's basically like pointing the shirt sponsor. Like no one's pointing the shirt. Like, bloody, when George Hendy scored at the weekend, he wasn't going, yeah, cinch it. Yeah, I love local businesses.
First and foremost, I think you've just given Bristol Bears an idea.
Yeah.
Start paying the players
to
start going like, lads, shop here when they score tries.
Box It, is that their sponsor?
But, like,
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, who knows?
It's probably an investment bank because it's rugby union.
Yeah.
Like, football, it's all betting companies. Rugby union is all investment banks and bloody hedge funds.
But why are you shaming her for just being passionate about a travel agent?
Yeah, she really can't wait for holidays. Do you think she's going like, yeah, they've booked me a 2-for-1 deal. We're going away next weekend after the final.
Maybe that's why Celia's off playing for the Barbars, so she can go up to the cameras and go, like, cash in more money for more sponsors.
I think that's what's lined up. I think actually the two of them are just going on holiday. I think they just got it lined up and they're just excited because bloody Bob Trailfinders, who owns the club, is there. He's gone like, right, if you win the league, everyone, free trip to Maldives. And she's gone, brilliant, I'm having that.
This is going to be a banging final. 3 p.m. It's on.
It's on TNT Sports. I think it might be on the BBC as well.
iPlayer as well.
So so please have a look, have a watch, and I imagine towards the end of the video you're probably locked in and are going to watch it. Or it also played and you just walked back in the room and realised you didn't notice the video was playing.